Hey, I'm Rivky Gross, and I'm here with my co-host, Chani Hecht Frankel. Welcome to our brand new podcast, The Possibility in the Universe.
We are so humbled and delighted to have you with us. Our podcast is real life in real time, where we embark on curious conversations that expand our awareness and capacity for all that is possible.
Hit subscribe to stay connected with us and to be notified when we drop our next episode. Listen until the end of this episode, where we will share more about ourselves, the work we do in this world, and ways to stay in touch. Enjoy listening.
Hello. Wow. So excited to be here again. Welcome to our third episode of the podcast, The Possibility in the Universe. Today, we are going to be exploring the possibility in enough. The presence of being with what is. So passionate and excited about discussing this topic with you, Rivky. My name is Chani. I'm joined with my beautiful friend and co-host, Rivky Gross, and I'm so excited to unpack this unbelievable topic with you. I think to get started, before truly understanding what it is to be enough, I am so curious about what enough isn't.
Yeah. As a practitioner who's worked with so many different kinds of people on all different levels of privilege and having in this world, what I've learned about most of us is that we live with a low level discontent or agitation. It's like this program running underneath this low level discontent, agitation. And what that is a sense of never arriving. It's like when I have the next thing, when I'm happy, when I lose weight, when I don't have anxiety anymore, when I find my life partner, when I have money, when I have purpose, then I will be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Then that program that's running underneath might quiet down. And the very definition of suffering, in the way that I've learned to define it from some of my teachers and mentors, is the thing that I want is not here. The thing that I want is not here. There's something in this present moment that's not right. And really, what that means, in other words, is that suffering is the very definition of not being here now. There's something that would complete this moment, and I'm ruminating about it. There's something that would make this moment whole, and I'm thinking about it. And in our society and in our experiences, and specifically even in the field that I work in, right? It's so many places and people validate this not enoughness with, when I will teach you the 5 easy steps to get rid of your anxiety, and then you will feel amazing, etc., 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 etc. So yeah, that to me is the definition of not enoughness.
I remember seeing this image, like a moving image of a guy on a treadmill with a donut hanging in front of him. Think of this subservience to the chase that keeps me in this hamster wheel of like running, chasing, going, doing without breath or presence, to be like, what if I just allowed myself to be here in this present moment and find what is here, what is present right here? Honestly, in the way that you just described it, I felt this feeling of exhaustion overwhelm me, to really consider that's kind of what happens when I am chasing chasing this sense of what I need in order to have what I have.
Yeah, and we live and swim in a collective reality of not enough. It's like It's what we're living and swimming in. So it's not, bringing in an element of compassion here. It's literally for many of us, whether it's from through a trauma lens or any other lens, it's the way that we've been wired for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for offering that, because there's a part of me in myself that like wants to fix that so
Yeah.
that I don't have to be running. And so that if
Yeah.
I fix that, then I won't have to run. Then I won't run, then I could just be present with what is, which is again the same indoctrination in some way. So it's interesting how even that in and of itself can play into itself. Because
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that and I'm like, oh, how funny that I just want to fix the part of me that's chasing so that I could get to the place of being with what is, because then I'll have what is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
I have clients who come sometimes and they're like, I really want presents. And they build it up to such a place where they're actually so agitated about what they really want. And they're processing why they aren't present. And they're in this experience of not being present. And sometimes, I've done that as well. And then I wonder, like, what if instead of doing that, I would be like, whew, how does it feel to be with myself in this moment? And whoop, right back into presence, right back into where I am. I had this elderly teacher. I think I told you this story recently, but I had this elderly teacher, a real elder, who I was in a class with her, and there was this woman in the class who was sharing some of her deep processes and traumatic experiences. And the elder woman interrupted her in the middle of what she was sharing, and she's like, stop. And the therapist inside of me was like, oh my gosh, she just didn't validate that person. What's going on over here? And the teacher said, look around. Look around the room you're in right now. Is anything wrong right now? And the whole class got really silent because we were a bunch of therapists in that room. And everyone was like, 1 second, that was a pattern interrupt. Therapists don't do things like that. But it was such a deep lesson for me, noticing my instinct to want to validate that process. And also, in one, hold the nuance, right? That it could be there would be another way to navigate that. And also that this elder um, teacher knows something that I might not know, and how beautiful it was. I don't know exactly what that process was for that woman who experienced that, but I know for me, it was an incredibly orienting process to the present moment. Just that simple question, is anything wrong right now? Look around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's making me think of the frustration that is so alive in the dating scene,
Mm,
where we come into the date with this attachment of how this is going to fill the thing that we are chasing to settle ourselves into having the enoughness to be in the present moment. And this distraction that the culture that we're in, that is always one upping it, like the shinier, the better, the more, the all of that. And I find that the frustration is in this place of, or this like limited belief that says anything that isn't more is settling in some way. That I'm going
mm,
to have to compromise something or sacrifice something in order to be with. And what could be possible, and what chance I can give myself, that before I even step into the date, to possibly open up the space to recognize that I'm already attached to the way that this is going to get me to where I'm going, which is a fixation of what's not here yet or possibly won't ever be, and bring myself back into this moment of, can I even tolerate being with the person across the table from me?
yeah.
Is there even any resonance right here in this moment, not in the way that you're going to fill what I need in the future, or this pressure that I and that's my own projection and self and judgment about it, but this like overlooking into who I'm going to go out with and how they are going to fit into how we're going to fit into each other's stories because of our background and the way that it is. Da, 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 da. And then it becomes this pressurized way of, well, are you fitting? Are you fitting into the space that you're meant to be fitting into? Which
Mm.
then doesn't allow me to be with, oh, I love kind of like the way he just smiled. Like, oh, he's so
Mm.
cute. We get distracted by what it needs to serve that kind of pulls us away from what the possibility could be if I can just be here and now and just see how I'm feeling in this moment. See how it
Yeah.
feels to be in this energy field with this person. See how it feels to be witnessed by this person and listened to by this person. It's just, it's so deeply ingrained in the way that we are taught to believe. And I want to bring that into consciousness again and again because the point is not to berate ourselves or blame ourselves for the conditioning that is. The possibility is to notice, is to just bring consciousness. Because when I notice, I get to choose how I want to approach this date, how I want to be in relationship to my body, how I want to truly any experience, like how I want to experience happiness versus what I believe will bring it to me, or even allow myself the happiness in this moment. I love that she stopped her and she made her look at the moment that she's actually in, here
Mm.
and right now. What's wrong right now? Don't tell me about all the stuff that made this wrong. You know what I mean? I resonate with that because I love a straight shooter like that. To me, that's the kind of therapy I'm looking for, like bam,
Mm.
that's how it is, and I also hold the side of the softness and the necessity for the validation and compassion in order to transcend, obviously. But the elders, I think when you get older, you just have less time for things that are just like, nah, no, we're not even going there. I'm here for, and my days are numbered now because I am older. We're not spending the time doing that. We're spending the time being here, right now. And I so appreciate that.
Yeah. One of my teachers, Dr. Sam, talks about part of those of us who are disconnected, whether it's from ourselves or from the present moment, we look for the next thing to be the place to land. So it's like, maybe if I move there, then I will feel at home. Or we look for that shiny penny, right? In relating, in friendship, in dating, where it's like, oh, that's the thing that's going to fill this space inside of me that so desires the feeling of landing, of fitting, of the thing snapping into place, that feeling that we can't really describe, but we all really deeply desire, of deep connection, deep resonance, deep understanding. And bringing compassion to that as well is like, that's a trauma response. That's a response from not feeling connected. It's a response from not necessarily feeling understood. It's a response from not necessarily being presenced with. So
Mm,
we're waiting for the next thing to feel good, because in the early childhood experience or in the resonance field of our culture or society, the present moment didn't actually feel good. But now that we are adults, and conscious adults at that, we actually have the capacity to fit into the present moment because we choose to fit. And we have the capacity to snap into the present moment and not necessarily wait for anyone outside of us snap in with us, but we have the capacity to now understand ourselves and to rewire our nervous system from that seeking, searching outside of self, maybe then it will, to what's going on right now. And the more we orient to that, the more to the enoughness, to the moment, to presence, the more our nervous system seeks that. When I started off working with children, originally, when I started working, I was working with children, and one of the first things I learned from Doctors Stephan Porges and some other really wonderful teachers was that when a child experiences regulation for longer periods of time, they actually seek it for longer periods of time on their own. So if we're able to co-regulate with a child and then they spend 15 minutes in regulation, then they actually seek longer and longer periods of regulation because that's what their nervous system is being wired to seek. And I've learned that it's the same thing with adults. The more we experience moments of regulation, presence, enoughness, beingness with what is, the more our soul seeks that. The less we receive it, the more our soul seeks the instant gratification or not quite fitting or next thing will be, because the more we orient to it, the more we are programming our nervous systems to desire it and want the thing that we actually desire and want. So, yeah.
I love what a beautiful insight and what a beautiful way to describe it. Thank you for that. I feel like I just learned so much in this moment. And it also makes me think about how brilliant the advertising industry is in tapping into this very particular vulnerability
Mm,
of how uncomfortable it might have been once in your life to stay present because it really wasn't great in that moment, and how you would do anything to escape it. And that's the vulnerability that they're capitalizing on, literally. And so they're going to tell you what you need so that you can feel happy because they're having you escape the moment that was uncomfortable to stay in.
100%.
Like a deep psychology in the way that capitalism works. And it is preying on those vulnerable spaces within humans to be able to get what it is they desire, which is money or fame or whatever that is that you will almost in some kind of way sell yourself to, because we're not aware, because we didn't notice, because we didn't see ourselves. And so much compassion for so much compassion for ourselves, because I feel like we judge ourselves. Even something like, I spent too much time on Instagram, let's say. I scrolled too much. Now I feel like crap about myself. And now I'm like hating on myself that I did. It's like they're doing everything in their power to capitalize on your vulnerability. And this is that moment. This is
Cap
that moment.
Capitalism is the word capitalism, and you just said it, is capitalizing on a vulnerability. And this is, and I'm just going to add to what you're saying, presencing that the beauty industry, the mental health industry, and the weight loss industry are billion-dollar industries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billion-dollar industries. And what are they capitalizing on? There's something that you want in the present moment that is not here. Boom.
Yeah.
I remember when I started parts of my business and like putting myself out there in these different offerings and groups and therapy sessions that I offer. And this like marketing professional that I was friends with told me, like, you need to do something called pain point marketing. And I
Mm.
was like, wow, there's even a name for capitalizing on people's vulnerabilities in mental health. And I was like, hell no. Hell no. And my practice has expanded beyond my wildest dreams of what I could create for others and for myself in my life without pain point marketing, without speaking to people's vulnerabilities, without making people feel insecure so they buy my services. Because
Yeah.
I think that there's something in that, while
Yes.
it works, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the culture that fuels the illusion that of how to not to get to the point of satisfaction. How can we
Yeah.
keep you in a space where you will never reach satisfaction? Because so long as you are not satisfied, you are the perfect candidate for what we're offering, and then
Yeah.
buy it. Um,
Yeah.
It's making me think of a friend who went for a Botox consultation. And, lots of her friends are doing it. And she's like, what's all the hype about? Maybe. And also, as soon as it's the hype, I start to look at myself differently. I suddenly notice things that I didn't know. I didn't even notice before. But now that you said that you went to go get this treatment done in your face, I suddenly notice that I actually do have a little furrow in my brow. And then maybe I do have to take care of it because you're taking care of it and you're taking care of it and you're taking care of it. And it seems to be wrong. It seems to not be okay to have it. So she went for
Listen
this.
to your language, even taking care of it.
Yeah, taking care
Gotta
of it.
take care of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this goes under the category of the false self-care. This is
Yeah.
not really
That's
self-care.
a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that separately. Either way, so she sat in the chair and I guess it's like a dermatologist who does this, the Botox guru person. She came and looked at one aspect of herself. And by the time she was leaving, she had checks on her face in all these different places of corrections needed.
Wow.
So even what you're coming for that you have found to be something of a default in your own
Yeah.
judgment or the way culture has programmed us to see ourselves, don't worry. I will show you even more ways to not be satisfied with who you were before you walked in to feel even less enoughness. So you come back. And she was like,
Yeah.
I am not subscribing to this. And, did her little like detox dance after she walked out to be like, no, this is just
Mm.
not for me. Shake that energy off. Like, wow. And how this doctor or Botox person, whatever it is, literally capitalized on pointing out the imperfections, which is highlighting the insecurity so that you feel even more compelled to have to fix it. Take
Yeah.
care of that. You better take care of that. You better fix that,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And I was thinking about it even more deeply, ultimately, there is this relationship with self that starts to deteriorate, and so much less grace, self grace is available because now somehow I'm shifting my outside, but my inside is actually different because I am I'm doing this thing to erase age from the outside, but my body is actually getting older. I am 40 years old. I actually do need more rest. That's what my
Mm.
body is telling me. But the face that I look at every day is 23. And so my self forgiveness in that space starts to pull away from each other because I'm judging myself as the 23-year-old in the mirror because that's what I have froze in time, but my body is going to continue to move forward. And so this detachment from the reality of the enoughness in this moment becomes more and more skewed and less
Yeah.
self grace and self forgiveness because now I'm holding myself accountable for the projection of what it looks like outside, which is not a mirror to what's really inside.
From what, if I'm understanding correctly, you're speaking from the perspective of someone who might do work on themselves
Yeah,
in this
sorry.
way, and they're experiencing themselves, because when we look in the mirror, we have an experience of ourselves as somebody who's so much younger because they've shapeshifted in some way, because our reality has that ability, but then something else gives, which is the naturalness that is part of growing older, growing wiser, growing. And when that naturalness kind of gives, then a there isn't a resonance necessarily with the inside and the outside. And there's a difference between like completely shape shifting, and obviously there is no right or wrong. There's a difference between completely shape shifting and desiring certain aspects of ourselves to be, or certain aspects to be more youthful, to be more even culturally beautiful in the ways that people desire. But there's an energy behind a complete shapeshift that is really, really felt. It's really deeply felt. And I think what happens is that in these industries, even the mental health industry, emotional health, healing, beauty industry, etc., weight loss industry, there's this focus on the outside. And what happens is the more we focus on the outside while leaving aside the inside, the disconnect grows and it gets larger and larger and larger. So then it becomes less and less and less enough.
Yeah.
And the suffering gets more and more because what is suffering? The thing that I want is not here. But the thing that I really want is not the face that you should see, that you should think that I am more beautiful. The thing that I really want is deep presence and connection. It's what we all want. So the further away we move from that, the gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is why most and many of these modalities and interventions are billion-dollar industries because they actually don't work long term. They dissolve, literal Botox dissolves. The diet does not work. How many people do you know that went on one diet in their life?
Oh yeah.
Nobody. The diet does not work. The therapy and the healing doesn't, you know, I have people in my life who tell me I've been in therapy for 25 years. Why am I not better? And I
Mhm.
think to myself, because your orientation is to be better and not with what is. And you're never going to get to that place with that orientation. And orienting around our material, like whatever we're working with in our lives, in a different way breeds different results. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's also like a distinction that I would love to be. First of all, thank you so much for the mirroring of the messaging because you said it in a way that was just so resonant and beautiful and understood. And I also want to say that um, the point of this is also not to bash the choices
Yeah.
making. Everybody in wherever they're at, that's part of it also. Being present with the decisions that I made that you're at right now. And that's it's okay. It's not like, oh, if you did it this way or you did that way, it's wrong or right. There isn't wrong or right.
No.
It's just noticing where the choice is being motivated from so that we can be more aware and more autonomous in our life experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to shape shift a little bit and into so like presence of being, right? And this idea of the attachment to what I believe is going to be. So then how do we sit with manifestation then? Like
Mm,
because we live in this universe where we're told or taught to believe that I can manifest. I am in the power seat of manifesting the possibilities in my own life. And we experience this all the time. We are in the
yeah.
manifestation of our own desire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, how do we balance the energy of enoughness with our desire and the things that we
Mm,
can manifest for ourselves?
yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you ask is like, where is that sweet spot between still holding on to our desire, or the Hebrew word like ratzon? It says that Hashem, God, created the world from ratzon, from desire. So desire is a really strong energy current. It's a really, really foundational attribute to creating to being co-creators of our lives with God, with the universe, with source. And how do we balance that with this energy of enough? If
Right.
I'm going to sit so deeply into my enoughness, how do I then balance that with desire? And when I think about this question, sometimes I laugh because I've thought of this question before and I think of it, I'm like, it's still coming from my mind trying to figure something out.
Mm,
And actually, underneath, it's like when I'm sitting so deeply in enough, I know the answer because I'm just sitting with everything that is. And I'm holding my desires with my belief in God. And everything's a little bit more flowing and clear than trying to figure it out. It's like, before I find presence, let me just, will I lose my manifesting powers? Like, I chuckle at myself when I think of that question.
right, like
And
if I give into enough, then will I end up with the other things that I want? So
Yeah.
is there this duality where there's like either one or the other, or is there the possibility for,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I really deeply believe that the foundation of desire is enough, which means that when I'm asking from a place or when I'm manifesting from a place of the thing that I want is not here or from a place of suffering, then I'm creating with Ratzon from that strain, from that energy. But when I'm desiring in the possibility of enough,
yeah,
it's a completely different frequency because I'm desiring from present moment relating with myself and with God. And then my desires are not necessarily as urgent or as desperate because I'm already having what I have and having what I need, and also remaining present with all my dreams and desires of what I could possibly want. So the foundation of enoughness is, I believe, what creates even more energy for the to bring down the things in which I actually desire. And this is another way in which we're reframing certain pop culture concepts, distilling them and refining them, right? The pop culture concepts of the mental health industry, the beauty industry, all those billion-dollar industries, and also this manifestation concept that's taken our world by a storm in the past bunch of years.
yeah. And it almost sounds like the distinction between manifesting from a place of scarcity, which is what we're programmed to believe of what I don't have in this moment, and moving into manifesting from a place of abundance, which is the enoughness of being with what is and knowing that all the other things will come, because that's what
Yeah,
happens when I know that it's enough.
yeah.
Is what is going to come. I could put the thing that I desire into the universe and let it go to Hashem, because it's gonna happen. I don't have to micromanage how that is going to manifest anymore, because I trust and
Totally.
believe in the abundance, and abundance breeds abundance. When I show up from a place of abundance, I offer that into my energy field. And when I show
Yeah,
up in manifesting a way of coming from like this place of lack, I don't have something, then ultimately what I'm constantly perpetuating is what I don't have, the
yeah.
need to fill from the place of scarcity and depletion versus, oh, like overflowing.
100%.
Wait,
And
I want
there's
to,
this, oh
sorry.
sure, you want to present something first?
I was just thinking about this thing on Instagram with this comedian Clayton Ferris, and he does such a like profound skit on this idea of what it means to manifest from a place of scarcity and how we miss the point of what the possibility is when we are attached to the way that we think that it needs to come. And so
Hmm.
him and another comedian are sitting at this restaurant, and he orders a soup, and the waiter brings the soup and then steps away, and then he realizes that he doesn't have a spoon. He only has a fork at the table. And his friend across the table is like, well, you know how to do this. Just manifest it. Manifest it. And you'll have the spoon. And he's okay, manifesting the spoon. He's manifesting the spoon. And a minute or two later, the waiter walks over and he's like, how's your soup? And they, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you have a spoon. Can I get you a spoon? And he's like, no, 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 no. I don't need you to bring me the spoon. Manifesting the spoon. Like I'm going to. And so when we are attached, especially from scarcity, we become even more attached, right? Because there's this lack. And so there's this need. And so there's this attachment. And so
Yeah.
when I am manifesting from that place, I'm creating this illusion of control of how it's going to arrive for me. And then in that, I kind of miss the opportunity of the spoon that was literally being offered to me in a way that maybe I thought would arrive differently. And so then I miss the opportunity to eat my soup when it's hot. And I just, it's such a cute way to play this out. Like he's super funny and super deep, because
Yeah.
this is truly this experience.
Yeah, yeah. There was this story that I heard once when I was a kid, maybe in school or something, about this person who was like, I believe in God, I believe in Hashem, and I'm going to get a parking spot or a taxi or something. And he kept passing by different parking spots and being like, nope, I believe in Hashem. Or the taxis kept passing by, and he's like, no, that's not yours. I believe that my taxi will come. And it's like, wait, wait, wait. but it's right here, but it's right here, but what's right here? And I wanted to just present one more thing before we move into actually what is the energy of enoughness, because we've been spending so much time also talking about what it isn't,
Yeah.
is the illusion that the outside thing will fill the feeling of lack on the inside. So inviting us all to presence that even when you lose all the weight, don't you wish you can lose another 5 pounds?
Yeah.
And even when you do the Botox, then oh, okay, now it's I need to color my hair. And even when you find such deep healing and you go to this transcendent retreat and you do incredible work, it's like, wait, what's the next thing to heal? Right? Because when we're not having what we have in this moment, we're not going to have what we have later. There's no way that we're going to have what we have when we want the thing that we want and we have it later if we don't have what we have now. So having what we have energy, and I learned that from so many of my teachers. Actually, I have 4 or 5 really beautiful teachers, and they all present the same topics from different places because
Mhm.
this is one of the most important teachings that could possibly be in this universe. If I don't have what I have now, I will not have what I have later, no matter how much I have. And some of the people that I work with are some of the most privileged in relationships, in intimacy, in connection, in money, in passion, in purpose, in leadership, in connection to God. And if I don't have spirituality, in access, and if I
Yeah.
don't have what I have now, how will I ever have what I have later?
Yeah.
So,
Can we
yeah,
allow can we allow it to ourselves? Can we
yeah,
allow ourselves to have what we have? Can we allow ourselves to slow it down to notice
yeah,
little
yeah,
tiny things that are so magical, that are such a privilege and a blessing from Hashem. The tiniest things. It starts in the tiniest things. I watched this little clip it was like a domino, and it started with a teeny tiny domino, and it went to 100-pound domino. And he showed that when you just knock down a little teeny tiny one, at the end it knocks down the big one. And so the noticing starts in tiny ways,
mm,
tiny ways that we allow ourselves to notice, because once we start noticing that, it will lead to the next thing that we notice. And this is a building. This is how we build a new perspective. This is how we build a new possibility for for ourselves, is one step at a time, one tiny noticing at a time. When we started this podcast, the woman that's helping us, she said 1% better each time.
yeah,
1%. That's it.
yeah,
We're not telling you shift into this perspective in 5 minutes, braid yourself forever having to have had any other perspective, and that's it. No, it's tiny, tiny steps of noticing today, what today, and even in this moment, can I pause and notice what I have in front of me?
yeah,
Blessing of what it is to be in the space that I love so much, to be in the relationships I'm so lucky to have, the children that I have. I'm getting so emotional, but when we stop to notice, we see it,
yeah, yeah,
see the aliveness of what we have, and what we think that we need to chase, that's actually taking us away from this,
yeah,
this, this,
yeah,
this, this.
yeah. In Hebrew, there's this line in Hebrew that it says, Ezahu Ashir Hasameach Bichalko. Who is rich? He who is happy with what he has.
Mhm.
And I remember learning this story when I was in the Talmud. There is the story of a family who lived with a lot of children in a very small amount of space. And they went to this rabbi and they asked this rabbi for, I don't remember exactly what it was, maybe for a blessing for more space. I'm sure someone who's listening can refine the details, but I'll just take the liberty to say it how I say it. And the rabbi said, "This is your homework. This is your blessing. Bring cows into your home." And they brought a bunch of cows into their home. And then the next week they said, "Rabbi, our home is still so small." And the rabbi said, "Bring chickens into your home." And each week they brought in more animals into their home. And I remember there was this storybook we had, and like with really great visuals, and there was these kids just sleeping with these in these bunk beds with these animals all over the place, and it was just such an epic book to read as a little kid. And then they went to the rabbi. Finally, he said, take all the animals out of your home. And they took the animals out of their home, and they experienced such a release and such a relief. And they were like, wow, our home is so large. Our life is so abundant. There's so much space to breathe. And I remember as when my family moved when I was a kid from a smaller house to a larger home. And I remember how my cousins who lived in a different country, when they came to our house, they were like, in our smaller home, they were like, whoa, because they live in an apartment. And then they came to our home, which at that time we thought was great. And then I remember moving to this larger home and going back to the old house to pick something up.
Yes.
And I went back into the house, and there was this experience of, this house is so tiny. I don't even know how we fit inside of it. I remember the experience in my body. This house is so teeny tiny. And I remember talking about it with some people in my family, like, wow, so small. And now where we live is so big. And it was such a cool experience to relate to something in such a different perspective. And last week we spoke about the possibility of perspectives, which ties very deeply into this topic. So there are people in the world and even our past selves who prayed for what we have now. And
Yeah.
we're currently praying for what we have now. And if I'm not going, even though I know, Rifki, I know, person listening to this, I know there are things in you in the privacy of your heart that you deeply want and desire. And if you're not going to have what you have now, you're not going to have it when it comes later, because it will come. It
Yeah.
will come. God willing, the things that you want will come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
We have some closing moments. Would you like to close us out in some maybe meditation or embodied way?
I would love to share the penguin story
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
if you want to.
I think that with everything that you just shared, you're offering the presence of pleasure,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm,
Because once I can be with what is, what opens the possibility that now opens up, and this might have to be the next episode, is the possibility in pleasure.
mm.
When I am with what is, I get to be in the experience of feeling it and loving it and enjoying it and indulging in it. And I saw this little clip of penguins in Antarctica in the summertime. And so, like, the ice melted and there was like a little pool of water that formed amongst the ice. And these penguins were literally having the time of their life, blissfully unattached from anything of past or present, of past or future, and being in this moment of right now. The ice is no longer water, and we just get to lick and splash and have fun. And it was just such a beautiful witnessing of what becomes possible for us and what a pleasure it becomes when I allow myself to be with this present moment and what is for me. What is for
Yeah.
those penguins was a little pool of water. And they were like, we have this. We are taking full advantage and having the time of our lives. Hop in. Woohoo! Get in here, dude. And everyone's just like splashing and having fun. So the flow of what becomes possible when it is enough and in presence, that leads to pleasure, that leads to what we're here to be in this world, is just enjoy the world that God has created for us and to be dropped into the experience of what is. And I love that we can learn that from the creatures and from the plants and from
Mm.
they're here to mirror towards us the possibility. And seeing those penguins was like, hells yeah, I went in on that. That just was so fun. Woo, so good.
Yeah, I learned that so much from you and your children, really. The way in which you enjoy life is really fun to be around. And your kids, I'm thinking specifically of one of them and the way that she licks her fingers as she's eating and the word that I wanted to presence, which was savoring. And I've been with you in moments of intense laughter and the way that we savor the laughter. And I've seen you savor moments and sunsets and experiences. And I think that you are such an embodiment of this possibility, this specific possibility in the universe. So I'm really happy that you're here talking about it and inviting the audience to just get in on that frequency because it's a frequency and your children are reflections, are mirrors to that. And there's this book that I read Khani's kids when I go to her house. I read your kids when I go to your house, and the way that we laugh when we read it, it's as if it's the first time and we're finding the jokes so funny. It's like this savoring.
Yes.
And I did some really intense nervous system reset work with a client this week. And in that experience of like resetting the baseline of his nervous system, not to be terror, but to be maybe something a little more calm or present. And I told him, your homework this week is actually to savor. When you're in the shower, see if you can savor that experience a little more. When you're having an intimate moment, see if you can savor that. When you're eating something, eat with your fingers. Notice the sun on your face a little more. That's your only homework because the more you teach your nervous system to savor, the more it looks to savor. And there's one more Hebrew pasuk that I want to present. This is which is one of my favorites in this entire world. Lihisaneg el Hashem ulehanus. It means in English to bask in the glory of the Shekhinah, or to bask in the glory of God's presence, or to bask in the glory of the present moment. And some say that is the purpose of why we are here. The
Yes.
purpose of why we are here. So it's pretty epic.
I thank you because savor is such a beautiful way to be in pleasure
Yeah.
and how savor interacts with pleasure where it just makes it more pleasurable because you are in the savoring. Like what a beautiful like flow of the different aspects that get to interplay with each other and what they each offer each other in that field. Super, super epic. So we're about time, and I wonder if you would like to, Rifki, um, to invite us into maybe a little meditation to take us into that space of enough presence, pleasure, and savoring.
Mm, absolutely. There is a meditation that I've been doing with myself over the past few weeks. I call it the enough meditation. I've been doing it in bed before I go to sleep, but you can do it wherever you are. So just inviting us all collectively to close our eyes
Mm.
and taking a breath in through the nose, sighing it out through the mouth. Taking another breath in through the nose, sighing it out through the mouth. Taking a third breath in through the nose, sighing it out through the mouth. Noticing your feet on the ground, gravity pulling you down, keeping you here, grounded, tethered, rooted to the earth. Noticing your body in space, noticing where there might be some space in your body. And allow your body to move or to be still in any way that it wants to. And inviting us to slowly drop into the present moment, which is now, which is the only moment there is. Recognizing that if there's any ruminating, unrest, agitation, it is a part of us, a program from childhood, from our culture, from our society, and not who we really are. And just a series of the words cast spells and are powerful. It's enough. It's enough. It's enough. And then slowly open your eyes and look around the room that you're in or the outdoor space that you're in. And notice if you can start to expand your vision to see all that is around you. Allowing this moment to be enough. And rinsing and repeating over and over and over and over and over again. Thank you all for being here with us, being here with us. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here with you. And thank you, Chani.
Thank you, Rivky. What a gorgeous space to be together with you, with everybody who's with us, with what's unfolding in this moment, and to be in this gorgeous dropped-in energy of this is enough. Wow. Wow.
Until next time.
Until next time.
The Possibility of the Universe podcast is only possible because of you, our audience. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for listening. I'm Connie. First and foremost, I am a believer. I am a wife. I am a mother of 6 beautiful children. I am the co-owner of Mimulo, luxury florist and event production company. I am a life coach working with both individuals and couples to empower them to step into their own possibilities in this universe.
Hi, I'm Rivky, and I love life. I love heart-centered living. I love to be curious, and I love to connect with all things. I started off as a social worker and developmental therapist, and now I work as a somatic and subconscious practitioner, using modalities such as somatic healing, breathwork, bodywork, hypnotherapy, and some really magical and incredible quantum healing technologies. I work with individuals, couples, run retreats and courses using these modalities to help people find the most freedom, presence, aliveness, and embodiment inside of their lives. The ways to contact us are through my website, rivkygross.com. That is spelled RIVKY dash, the straight line dash, gross, GROSS.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Chani at Muckhome Sanctuary, and myself at Rivky Gross. We are here for any and all questions and feedback through the contact form on the website, and we're so looking forward to hearing from you.